There you go. Welcome back to another installment of the Van Damme A Thon. I'm joined by Uncle Bill and Stuntman Marq, and we will be talking about the 1989 film Cyborg with the legendary Fender fucker. We'll get to that at the end. And RJ, I see you in the chat. Happy birthday. Hope your 45th birthday went well, man. And as people start coming in, I wanted to talk about something a bit of a off tangent to get your thoughts on. And Marq doesn't know much about this, so I'll explain the situation for anyone else who doesn't know as well. You have the Titanic subs that go down as a tourist attraction. And what happened was 5 people, including, I believe, a millionaire or a billionaire. I forget. It might have been a billionaire and his son. You pay like $250,000 a piece per person to get into this thing. So these 5 people go down, and they get to the point where they lost communication. 5-6 days have gone by. Found out they passed away. Number one, they only had 1 sandwich and 1 bottle of water to each person. Then, you know how they can? Hey, Marq, guess how they control the sub?
I don't know. Tell me.
A $30 Bluetooth cheap controller.
Wow.
This is literally is a video. This is what it looks like.
The most disturbing thing about it to me was that they call them a submersible because like they can't operate on their own. They have to be launched by another like vessel.
Mm-hmm.
And the hatches are like bolted on, which means you can't get out and no one can get in until they remove the bolts and everything from the hatch. So you're in like a fucking tomb if you get if anything happens. I mean, you're not getting out of there.
And this is supposed to be like a fun thing to do.
That's what I thought. I was like, and the kicker to it too is you get there's like a curtain and you get like a bucket to shit in. Like if anybody has to use the bathroom, there's no bathroom in it because it's too small to have like a bathroom. So like you literally get like a little bucket, and like everybody had to go on a special diet before they got on so they wouldn't like crap too much or anything. It's insane, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
The only way, because they went so deep down, the only way you could talk to is by text. Can't do radio or anything, only by text.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other things that just made me shake my head is I looked up a previous interview by the CEO. His statement was, well, I don't want to hire 50-year-old ex-military guys because there's too many white guys. I need young people because young people will be inspirational to pilot and work these things. Diversity is the translation. There's too many 50-year-old white ex-military people doing these things. I'm like, don't you want people that's experienced and know what they're doing?
That was going to be my statement. Wouldn't you want the experienced guy to do it? I mean, your company's kind of at stake, and so are lives.
No, we want the dude like fresh out of fucking submersible school or whatever. Just pop him in there.
Just the amount of incompetence they didn't test it, by the way. They never tested it. They just went for it. They disregarded safety precautions. There was no backup plan. As anyone to you guys who've dealt with businesses or even in a way have your own business in a certain way or your own experience, how does that even go into play with such a dangerous operation? That just confuses me.
I'm just as confused as you are.
The part that confuses me more than anything is like, I mean, I get the allure of wanting to do to see the Titanic and all that. Mm-hmm. But why in God's name, if you got that much money, would you want to go down in something that's like there's like 4 or 5 people sitting in the floor. There's no seats. You're sitting in the floor of this tiny ass little vessel that's bolted in. That's got to be the most claustrophobic and terrifying thing I can think of. And then going down, like, I don't know how many, that's like, wasn't it miles or something like that into the ocean, like to get to this fucking spot?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything less that I would want to do. I don't give a shit if there's like a leprechaun down there with a fucking pot of gold. That's like, I'm not going in that thing. Like, you could not get me to go in that.
That's not something I would ever want to do. Like, so I saw something that said they were missing, but you're saying they're found and now they're deceased. Apparently, do they know what the malfunction was?
Like implosion. There's an ultimate implosion, and there's debris, and they're gone.
So it's like a pressure thing or something.
I don't know the details on it. I don't know if they release the details. Maybe they have, or maybe they want to try to save their own ass for their own stupidity and competence. Again, I don't know how you don't do test drives on it. I don't know how you don't make sure. I don't know how you don't hire the most experienced people. It's all these questions come about that just, it's the world today, Sally. I'm going to steal Uncle Bill's favorite phrase, toxic positivity. We think nothing.
That's right.
Nothing will go wrong. It's sunshine and rainbows.
Well, in that case, I think it was just more like greed and dumbasses. Like, just people that think because they have the money to do something that they should do something. It's like, just because you can, you probably shouldn't do a lot of these things. And those guys were clearly just taking advantage of them for the money. They made over $1 million on that, on just taking those 4 or 5 people down there. So it's like they were just trying to milk that.
Not to jinx anything, but this sounds like too soon retro crypt.
Yeah.
It sounds like a precursor to what could potentially happen with the whole Musk thing of taking people in like the space shuttle and giving them the tour of space or whatever.
It's going to be like what happened at the end of Total Recall.
Right.
Where the guy, his eyeballs are popping out.
Yeah.
What's the space station thing?
It's sort of like this where you pay an ungodly sum of money and you get like a trip in like a spaceship, and it's like you go, I think it's like a circular like travel thing where you just go around the earth, like just for the hell of it. Like, you don't go into like deep space or outer space. It's just Earth's orbit.
Yeah.
You
saw how that worked out. Fucking Alec Baldwin, the dumbass.
I think what we figured out, like, from those two things, though, from the Elon Musk thing and from this, is that billionaires are really, really bored. And, like, they need to invent stupid shit to, like, do that they probably shouldn't do.
Or they could just give me some money. I mean,
I could think of a lot of other stuff to do than risk your life doing a bunch of really stupid shit.
Yeah. Hooker. I mean, that may be dangerous as well, but that's more manageable than a submersible.
You're not going to implode, or maybe you will. I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, it
depends on the depends on her attributes. But to say hi to people in the chat who come in, thank you everyone. RJ, Fadi, Gozer the Gozerian, John Vaz, Jeremy Power, Caleb, Dio Punt, Darminal Spider, Cole, Rich, the writer of such Olivier Gruner classics as, I already forgot the name, Sector something. He knew it sucked as well, so that's why I'm having fun. Because he wrote the film, and even he knows, because he dealt with Albert Gruner, and I can't say anything because I don't want to get rich in trouble. Retro Crypt, Mr. Djakovic, Raised on Fiction, XRP, DJ, Lucas, Manny Ditello. Hello, everyone. But yeah, we will also we'll quick like the show. One thing that came in preparation for the future of this, I did grab this finally. Yeah, it's the 4K, nice. But I just got it for the features. And to be honest, I just had my fan cut I watched, so I didn't own the movie. Because I have a fan cut of this that it's the warp print, which I prefer. But this has the cut that anyone would see. So one day we will do a commentary on this film, at the very least.
Yep.
before the Van Damme A Thon, so I needed this.
Can't wait for that one.
But
Yeah, I've got that same
to check
edition
out
right
the
over here
features.
somewhere. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, I know you mentioned the picture quality was
It's like a Blu-ray.
iffy.
I mean, it really is. Like there's no real difference.
Yeah.
you talk about the work print, so that kind of leads me into Cyborg, or I guess as it's
Yeah.
known, Slinger, the director's cut. Do you own it? Have you seen
Yeah.
it? Do you prefer it?
Oh yeah, I own
to
it. I have a
Okay.
rant on it from like 10, 12 years ago. That I just unleashed. I fucking despise it because Albert Pyun, may he rest in peace, but he wanted to do an action opera.
Okay.
It was black and white. It wasn't Van Damme's voice. It was someone else dubbed. It was less action. The fight scene at the end, you know the whole bit which we'll get to when they're in the shed and he kicks the guy Fender
Mhm.
into the hook.
Yeah.
None of that's in it. That was filmed afterward. It's a much shorter anticlimactic fight. It was much more pretentious because Albert Pyun thought he was making an art house movie.
hmm
Van Damme and Sheldon Lettich, and they saw this and they said, we need to re-edit it because this needs to be more of a crowd-pleasing action film. So it was Van Damme's voice again. It was became a shorter movie. It was, they filmed additional photography to have the fight scene longer and a bit more competent. And yeah, I mean, if people are curious about it, I'm sure it's out there. I think it's such a inferior version, in my opinion.
Now, does that
Was it
cut
12 years? Yeah.
like reinsert the stuff that's cut for MPAA reasons? Like, because I think it was like an X
Not a
rating
whole
first.
lot.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. I mean, that's another thing I was disappointed in
hmm
because I think there's like one little bit. There's like a little teeny bits, but nothing substantial, in my opinion, that I remember. Because I thought that's what I thought. That's why I got in the first place.
Yeah.
Was I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. It was just action. Fight scenes felt shorter.
Mhm.
Yeah, Rich. They did that as well. Yeah. It just not my preference. Didn't mind they had a different score. Didn't mind the score they had in it, but I do prefer the score in the movie as is. But it's a totally different score.
hmm
If
Yeah,
you're a hardcore fan,
in the
sure,
theatrical
be able
cut,
to love it.
you can notice some of the cut moments, like the throat slicing scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
The guy is supposed to get like his mouth impaled with like a huge pipe or some shit like that, and then
Yeah, a lot of that wasn't added back in, though. I don't know what
not even
happened to
like
the
the
footage.
massacre sequence at like the village or whatever. They didn't.
Not really, no.
What?
That's like a crucial part of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing additional that I remember in the Slinger cut. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, man.
No, I had nothing to say. I was just, I'm trying to think of something else to say. Go for it.
I was just curious because here's the main thing I remember about Cyborg, and I haven't seen this movie probably in 15, 20 years. I don't even know at this point. The thing I remember most about it was that it bombed when it came out. Like, or at least it didn't do as well as the other Van Damme movies that had come out. And I remember like a lot of the critics didn't like it. It got a lot of like bad feedback and stuff like that. I'm just curious.
I thought it did good.
No. I mean, in relationship to the other movies like that he had done, I mean, I'm looking on here. It had a $500,000 budget, and
I think it made like 10 million.
It made 10 million worldwide, and made 3 million on its opening weekend. It's the movie that got most hammered, from what I remember, like by the critics and things too.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, why do you guys think that is? Like, what was it about this movie as opposed to like some of the other movies that he did around that time, where this one seemed to get shit on like the most?
Well, number one, it was after he was successful. Let's see. Because technically, this is after Bloodsport. then this came out, then Kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
I think while he does martial arts in this, it's not a tournament. It's not a Rocky type of thing like Kickboxer. So it's him trying to do something a bit more different out of the box. Maybe people didn't like the budget. Maybe people saw the editing. They were a bit more. I don't know for certain because I've always enjoyed it, but just people think it sucked. People thought it was poorly acted. They thought it was. I think having such a low budget, I think Bloodsport Kickboxer probably had bigger budgets easily.
That's a crazy
I
low
think-
budget, even for that time. Like it really is.
Yeah.
$500,000. It's like, I mean, if you look at Evil Dead was made for like 250,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that was almost 10 years before this.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I know they cut corners everywhere possible. Despite the very low budget, I think they reused the sets from, was it Masters of the Universe, and was it
Well, they were going
Spider-Man?
to do a sequel. They were going to do Master Universe 2 and a
Mhm.
Spider-Man movie, but they lost the rights to both because that was a time when
Right, that's what
Canon
it was.
was losing Superman 4 bomb, Master Universe bombed.
Mhm.
There was another one. Over the Top, Stallone, big movie for them, that bombed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is
There was
weird.
an-
That
I
movie
think-
bomb.
yeah, I've always enjoyed it, but people make fun of it. It's what the fuck? It's an arm wrestling movie. It's stupid. But then people love Rock and Sock and Robots, the movie with fucking Hugh Jackman, which stole the plot from Over the Top, Real Steel.
Right.
A
Real
guy gets
Steel,
with his
yeah.
son and they go to a tournament. I'm like, arm wrestling is a lot better than a bunch of shitty Rock and Sock and Robots and Hugh Jackman trying to sell his son. He's a fucking asshole character. But anyway, that's here. I prefer Over the Top. But
You big fan of Hugh Jackman, Rambo?
I like the actor. He picks a lot of shitty projects.
He really does. The only person that picks more shitty projects than him is probably like The Rock or Vin Diesel. Like God Almighty, those guys.
But like they were looking for their next big hit. I mean, because up until that point, for the next 3 years after Cobra, which was I think '86, that was their biggest movie. I think Cobra, right?
Well, they had nothing really to do with it. That's more Warner Brothers. Their name's
Well-
just on it because at the time, they had already gotten Sylvester Stallone for Over the Top.
Mm-hmm.
But then Warner Brothers said, well, the success of Rambo 2, we want Stallone for this movie. And he has a script that he was going to use for Beverly Hills Cop. He wants to do this for Cobra because what was
Right.
Beverly Hills Cop is going to be like Marion Cobretti, the Motor City Cobra, or Axel Cobretti, maybe it was called in that script. Anyway, Cannon said, well, you know what? We actually have him, but we'll make a deal. We'll let you use him, but put our names on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they had nothing to do with it. It's like, we have a signed deal. He has to do Over the Top.
Right.
But you could have him first, put our names on it. So their names are on Cobra, but they had
Right.
absolutely nothing to do with it. They didn't get any money from it.
Yeah,
They
so
just,
they put their names on for production company. I think it's listed as them, but then Warner Brothers distribution. They get Warner Brothers distributed
Yeah.
the movie. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Warner Brothers, they got all the stuff from it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Canon Film, sadly, their biggest mistake. If they kept with Death Wish 3 level, missing in action level budgets and action films, even this, which $3 million US, that's still good with a $500,000 budget. That's still
Mhm.
fairly good. I think they would have been still in the mid 90s, still going decently. But they wanted to be Theatrical, they wanted to be Fox, they wanted to be Universal. And sadly, I mean, Superman 4 ain't gonna cut it with this the fucking guy ready to nuclear man, ready
Yeah.
to be like a male stripper, maybe take his clothes off for Superman any minute, just fucking breathing in space. I said it takes her the girl and they go into space and she's breathing perfectly fucking fine. It's fucking press on nails. And you can't, I mean, you made movies like that, I mean, Masters Universe I could watch, but it's like it's kind of I don't know. Punisher's more my movie, I guess. But sadly, they went big, and sadly, they
Went home.
lost a lot of money.
They went big and went home. Yeah.
So for the sequels, are you guys a fan of Cyborg 2, Cyborg 3?
I actually just watched Cyborg 2 on Tubi. It's on Tubi if you want to like check it out.
Mhm.
As are a lot of those Cyborg sequels for some reason. Like you can that's got to be like the best streaming service, man. You can find any like obscure action or horror film like you could ever imagine on that fucking site. So yeah, if you want to watch any Cyborg sequels, which they're all kind of insane, then just find them on there.
Especially the third one where like the cyborg's supposed to be pregnant or something.
I've never seen the third one, so
you have to see it. It's so ridiculous. I think Zach Galligan's in that. I think Andrew Bernarski.
Of course he is.
Like Malcolm McDowell. Richard Lynch. It's insane. But awesome in the worst way possible.
Richard Lynch is rapidly becoming one of my favorite, like, just character actors in all these different films where he just shows up for a brief period of time.
Yeah. But Billy Drago steals the show in the second one.
I always liked him too. Yeah. And just about everything he's ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
Not Jack Palance. What was the line with the big spoon?
Yeah.
His lips are right up there.
If you want to have,
I forget
dine with the devil, you have to have a big spoon or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I remember Angelina Jolie said the second movie made her physically ill after she saw it. She had no idea it was going to be that
I could see that. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about it. Angelina Jolie back at that time. Lord God in heaven, boys. Like what was going on? Up until like let's see, I'm not sure when things started going crazy for Angelina Jolie. Now that I think about it, like at what point did she just like lose her mind? Because I know it was after the Brad Pitt thing in which she adopted like 27 kids, and then like shortly thereafter she never did movies really, and then when she did, like they were awful, and then like she would always have like really weird shit to say about everything, and she just kind of lost it there.
Didn't she exchange blood with Billy Bob Thornton or something?
That's true.
Yes,
she may have lost it around that time period. Yeah.
So it was Billy Bob. I don't know.
Yeah, her and Billy Bob Thornton were together for like a period, and they made out at like the Oscars or the Grammys or something. I
remember they came to the award show, and was it him that was like naked under a trench coat or some shit like that?
Something crazy, yeah. And they were,
and he's like, "Yeah, we fucked in the limo on the
way."
Yeah, that was the first thing he said. I was like, "Oh, okay."
That guy, what a blessed existence that guy's had to look the way that he does.
All right.
I mean, has anybody else ever like looked like that and been able to pull off some of the shit that he has? I don't think so.
Yes, that's tough.
Before I start, just to answer some questions in the chat. No, Alpha Runner, hard target commentary, that will be in the future. We'll let you know. Angelina Jolie, stuff of her very mediocre. Wanted. Yeah, I remember that movie, Wanted, all that stuff. Alpha Runner says, this Cyborg is cool. Yeah, a lot better than the DCU Cyborg. Don't watch those movies.
Was Wanted the one where she could bend bullets or some shit that was ridiculous?
The bullet.
Yeah, James McAvoy.
I'm gonna try that sometimes. Shoot and like move the gun really quick. Come on.
Yeah, I think it was a comic book movie. I'm pretty sure it was.
Definitely a comedy.
Of course.
I don't think it was supposed to be a comedy. It was though.
But as we get into it, we've been about 25 minutes. We'll start the commentary. We'll pause at the beginning. Thankfully, it is a short film. Cannon was pretty good with that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's an hour, 26 minutes, and 24 seconds. I'm watching it on the older Blu-ray. I know Scream Factory, I believe, has then released a collector's edition. I don't have that one yet. But actually, I'm sorry, Uncle Bill, we tricked you. And Mark knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, fuck.
That's right.
This is actually not a commentary for Cyborg. It's
Yeah,
a
we're switching
commentary
it
for
up.
X-Files, I want to believe.
Fuck!
right.
I gotta go. I'll see you
No,
bitches.
fuck that. This is much better.
That'd have been killer.
So
What you should have done, you should have really done that, and then all of a sudden, like Mark's background changes to X Files. I was like,
I actually had it there. There
oh
you go.
shit! Yeah.
I fucked that up, but I didn't know if he had the background.
Oh, I was ready.
That's so killer.
I went ahead of the gun. Damn it!
I'm
That's
ready
my
for
fault.
it. If we're gonna do it, I'm ready. I gotta go get the Blu-ray though, because I actually own that Blu-ray. I don't know why, but I do own that Blu-ray.
Oh, you know why. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
But we'll stick with Cyborg today. It's much
Yeah,
better. Really.
Cyborg.
Yeah, how many backgrounds do you have? That's like the.
Mark plans his stuff out.
I guess you green screen.
Yeah.
So.
I
Yeah, everything.
I got quite a few actually.
But pause at the beginning. I'll count down from 3, 2,
Hold on
1.
1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. I gotta make sure mine's
I like this.
just gotta make sure everything's out of the way first.
That's right.
There's like 50 million things that pop up before these movies start, so just want to make sure I'm on 0.
Yeah, Neopon, I agree.
Yeah,
Just
that's
you
true.
just go watch that, or various John Woo movies, things of that nature. Yeah, well, I did that. Vincent Klein was the surfer guy. He's Fender, but the voice, Branscombe Richmond, he will know him. If you've seen Batman Returns, the guy who's got Michelle Pfeiffer and goes, "You missed," and he does the thing. That's Branscombe Richmond. That's the actual voice of Fender. He's been in a lot of stuff. Steven Seagal kills him in Hard to Kill.
Isn't he in
And
Point
actually,
Break?
he's in this. Vincent Klein is the actor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the phys guy. And then the guy who voices him, he's actually in Recommendation. This film here, The Tater and Beverly Hills.
Holy shit! I haven't seen that
Wow.
film in forever, man.
That's some
Sadly, this Blu-ray's out.
Yeah,
Is out of print.
I forgot that existed. I remember watching it when I was a kid, though.
Yeah, real quickly for those who've never seen it, I'm sure it's probably on YouTube. Got the football player, Max Headroom himself, Max Frewer. As a cop, they team up to take on the thieves in Beverly Hills. Has a crazy soundtrack. You got Faith No More's Epic. You got, what was that, Janet Jackson, Cat Stretch Fever or something. That's a hell of a soundtrack. And some fun 80s style, even though this was 90s. Because every time this guy does them, it's always football related. He's a football player. I'm not playing defense anymore. Or he fucks up a car and it goes to a pool and he's like, touchdown, asshole.
That's his whole gimmick, is everything's related to football. Yeah. All of his puns. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Branscombe Richmond is one of the guys hunting this guy down. And this also has a Robert Davi, who's the main villain. Good character actor. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Underrated movie. Sadly, the Blu-ray is out of print. I guess you could get the DVD, or it's probably on YouTube as well. But anyway, yeah, real quick, like, yeah, if you hear Vincent Klein's real voice, is very higher pitched, and they want something much more, I guess, demonic sounding, but it fits. And you'll hear that in definitely the first part of this, where he has his opening monologue. So. But if Mark, do you have it ready and willing?
I'm ready.
So we'll count down. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. And
Lord,
my copy has the MGM.
Oh shit!
The MGM logo, and then should be getting the Canon logo soon. There you go.
Subtitles.
As silly as it sounds, it's always been one of my favorite logos.
Yeah, that one, New World and Orion, all those are like staples for me.
And this is one of those things where they did. I mean, they chose the right voice to it. You have a voice that definitely
Mhm.
supposed to be commanding and evil. This certainly does it.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's so they don't utilize any more matte paintings,
That's amazing.
which I miss that
man.
kind of stuff.
I do too.
yeah. Yeah, I love the opening lines.
They use it in a lot of Italian films, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Matte paintings were really popular in like low budget Italian film.
I guess CGI has made that obsolete, I guess, but just something more. I think when I was a kid, I didn't realize that there was like all these dead bodies hanging around. So when I saw like more
Mhm.
higher picture quality, I noticed all the corpses crucified.
Mhm.
I just remember
So
thinking
you
when I
saw this in
watched.
yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say you saw this in the theater. You mentioned that.
Yeah, this was like this is my memory of this. Like this was right as like Van Damme was becoming a star. So like people knew like him and everybody loved like Bloodsport and all that shit. And it was like right in the middle of him becoming like really huge. And I just remember like watching this movie and watching it several times, not just at the theater, but on like video and stuff too. And just like being kind of like taken aback by how dark it was, like in terms of the tone and just like you were saying, you know, like as a kid watching this, especially the family scene that's coming up here and all that stuff shortly,
Mhm.
like just being like, I don't know, terrified by it. Like, even more so than like any of his other films. And there's the scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's the scene where like I'm pretty sure it's in this one where they run his hands down like barbed wire, something to that effect.
Yeah,
The
it's
little
a
girl has the
flashback
barbed wire.
where
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
his kind of daughter, but not daughter, has to hold the family in the well, and it's going through her hands.
Just as a kid, just being like, "Holy shit!" Like, what are they doing?
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted Fender's glasses. I thought they were so badass
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
They're like black Macho Man glasses.
Yeah.
That's what they are. If you just replace that with purple, that would be the Macho Man's glasses.
And he
I think this is
doesn't
what you're
have
talking
a
about. Like, there's probably like edited out MPA. There's probably a bit more to this. I'm sure you
Yeah.
mentioned that, Mark.
yeah. I've heard about the extended scenes, but I always thought that they were just in that director's cut.
No.
And you can tell with the editing, like they completely just shy away
Yeah.
from the violence there.
I was
But
watching. Oh, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, he doesn't have a ton of dialogue throughout, but when he does, like, I always enjoyed it. So yeah, I think you're right about the voice. It's spot on. It really does work. I don't have an issue with it.
I was gonna say though, as the credits are rolling here, I was watching Diodado's Cut and Run,
Okay.
and in preparation for the Diodato show on Monday, and there's a lot of scenes because I was watching the edited, not the unrated version. There's a lot of scenes just like that where something will go. He'll go to like, you know, cut somebody's throat or something. It'll just cut away, or he'll shoot somebody. It'll cut away, like back to like you can just tell when stuff's been like edited out like that.
Yeah.
And it's so hypocritical because you look at the stuff that could be done today, and you never hear the MPA. Like, it feels like years since the MPA has been mentioned. Cutting something, making you cut something.
Yeah.
I think the last time was maybe the house that Jeff built. There was a little issue. Maybe there was something else. Maybe it was them, but very rarely. But then here it was like any little thing, it was putting their fingers in. It's strange how
especially
it
this
feels like a
time
short amount of
period.
time.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
time period, like the late 80s, was really bad for the MPAA to cut shit.
Yeah. What year was House That Jack Built?
I'd have to look that up. I actually remember not minding that film, but
I saw it.
that
It
was a
certainly
long
stayed with me. Like I can't
Oh,
remember the
yeah.
year.
2018.
Some asshole requested it on the for the review of it. I'm like, thanks a lot. That's
But I think this is definitely a film that a lot of us, I think for a lot of people, this might have been the first Van Damme film they saw, because as a kid, you're into sci-fi, you're into heroics, and then you see this guy. I think that's why there are technically a lot better Van Damme films, but this is very nostalgic to me, so that's why it's been my second favorite. I think I tend to admit nostalgia plays a big part of it. Is that there's certain things that just stick out throughout it. The later on, the whole crucifixion bit,
Yeah.
the splits in the sewer, like all these moments they embedded as a kid.
He's got to have a 3 split minimum in all these films. Like it's in his contract.
Yeah, Alf Runner, they did make 3 Cyborg films, and they're on Tubi. Rich is asking you.
That's a good question, man. Oh God, like I want to say Hard Target, like with everything in me. But it's probably Bloodsport. Like it probably is Bloodsport. Like I just can't. And for the same reason that you were just saying though, Rambo, which is the nostalgia factor of like watching that as a kid, like over and over and over again, and just like that being one of my favorite movies around that time. I can't get away from that. But I will say that like those are some horrible effects right there, by the way. I will say just like what the fuck? That like Kickboxer, Bloodsport, Hard Target, Lionheart, like all those movies are like up at my top tier. Also, does anybody know why she's dressed like a diesel mechanic? Is that just like the outfit for that time period? The futuristic
outfits of the future.
Yeah.
All the fucking. They need all that gasoline from Mad Max, so that's a bunch of diesel outfits, right?
You got to talk about the gun in this too. That's like a kind of a classic thing. The gun that Van Damme has in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and the one Fender has too.
Nails.
Never really seen anything like that up to this point.
Austin, not really, because I was only like 6 years old, so I don't think I would have remembered much if I did anyway. So
yeah, you got to bring that shit up, don't you, Matt? I was I when this came out? 10? Yep.
Okay.
When it came to theaters, I was 10.
I was 2. So
well, you can all go shit and fall back in it then, can't you? God.
I already did. That's what this beer's made of. He's so brown.
So yeah, this scene coming up always messed with me.
There is just so much here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what about it, Mark? Like, what about this scene?
Just like I know that there's so much more carnage, like that we
don't get to see. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, because the heads on spikes, the decayed heads hanging. Well, here's another scene here. Well, obvious cutaway there. It's just I want all that stuff put back in. I would have thought that like Scream Factory would have been able to do that, but from what I understand, theirs is just a theatrical cut. I know it's like a 2K restoration or something like that. But still,
Scream
just
Factory
want all
doesn't
that
do
footage.
shit like that though. They
Not
really don't.
anymore. That
They don't
used to be
even
the
try.
thing they were known for.
Yeah. They don't even give any kind of effort anymore.
The last time I
here's
remember
your new 4K. It's the same shit, but it's just a 4K.
I see that.
Get you some posters and pins and
Yeah.
Probably the last time I remember Scream Factory doing something like that was, I believe, Valentine, because the stand-up bits were cleaned up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then they just gave up again for some reason.
What was the
Too many
one, Mark,
4K.
that everybody wanted them to do? I can't remember which title it was. They were like,
Event Horizon.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, they were like, is that going to be the one with all the, added in? Like, no,
Mhm.
no, it ain't.
I mean, they said they tried. They pushed back the release date, and they were saying, "Oh, we're searching everywhere. We're gonna get it." And then eventually, they were like, "Well, sorry, we couldn't find it. We did everything we could.
We did all we could. We walked outside, but the conditions were too sunny, so we had to come back in. We couldn't do it."
Austin, sadly, by the time I got to the age to go to the theaters, his films were kind of leaving theaters and going more straight to video, because it was about 99. That was his last big theatrical film, Solo. So it probably was Expendables 2 as one of the only ones, sadly, because he didn't really have much theater experience after that. And, that's just how it is, the nature of the beast with that. And Neil Paz from Marq. Oh, Marq and Bill. Street Fighter and Sudden Death.
Sudden Death I saw in the theater with my dad.
Okay.
I think we both knew at that time that it was good, but it wasn't like blow you out of blow you away kind of good or anything like that. So, we were okay with it. And then Street Fighter, what the hell can you say about Street Fighter? Like Raul Julia is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Van Damme is like awful, but I think that was like was he coked up? He had to be coked up during that time period. Yeah.
Yep.
You can just tell.
I think he admitted he was coked up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind it though, but I mean, it's not anything I go back and look for.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I know what I'm in for with it, and I don't think anybody in it holds anything back, which is kind of a good thing as much as it is a bad thing for that movie, because the script is just not good at all. But I don't mind it though. I still have fun with it.
It's really shitty.
Yeah,
it's not great. No,
but
it's better in my opinion than the Mortal Kombat sequels. I will say that.
Okay, yeah. You got me.
I like those too. I can't even. I like Annihilation as bad as it is.
Oh shit, Mark!
It's so bad, but I love it though. I grew up with them, so it's I can recognize that they're not good films though. I'll at least admit to that much. But on the flip side, Sudden Death.
Neither is Street Fighter.
No, but Sudden Death is fantastic.
Yeah.
I watched that recently, maybe like a month or two ago. Still awesome. I love all the stuff that Hyams did in the 90s. Actually, I wish that they had done a third movie, because they did Time Cop and then Sudden Death, but there was no third movie in the 90s there between him and Van Damme. I think he ended off the decade with Arnold doing End of Days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
There it is.
99,
yeah.
Well, there's like a snapshot of it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 3 Van Damme movies I can clearly remember seeing in the theater: Cyborg, Sudden Death, and Double Impact. And I think I had the most fun with Double Impact because the audience was really into it. And that, I don't know if that movie made a lot of money or what, but there was a lot of people in there. I remember that. That was a crowded, kind of rowdy theater audience, which was great.
That always helps.
For the most part, with his early films from Bloodsport to, I would say, Time Cop, each of them, for their audience, made money. I think, except Nowhere to Run. think that was the one that didn't make much because it was him trying to do more drama.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then really it was Street Fighter and Sudden Death when things kind of went into the crapper, box office wise.
You know, the one I always forget, I don't know why, because I just don't consider it to be like a Van Damme movie, is Universal Soldier. I saw that one in the theater too. But I don't look at that as like a Van Damme movie because it's like a Lundgren Van Damme movie. It's like not just him. You know what I mean?
That's why it's my favorite,
Yeah.
though, out of all of them.
Yeah.
Now, you could probably argue that Lance Henriksen was every bit as badass as Van Damme was in Hard Target, but I always look at that movie as Lundgren's, like, it's his masterpiece in a way as much as it is Van Damme's, because I think with an action movie like that, you need a great villain as much as you need a good bad guy. So people remember Lundgren probably most for Drago, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's so fucking evil in Universal Soldier, and I love it. Like him wearing the necklace with like made of human ears, and I'm just
can you hear me, buddy?
yeah, like come
He's
on.
talking to the ears.
And then he's
great.
like juicing the whole movie, shooting up and like getting stronger and just kicking Van Damme's ass. It's awesome. That's always going to be my favorite.
I do like Sudden Death. It's just my issue with the film that's hard to rewatch for me is when you watch it, you can easily see all of the doubles and like every fight scene. You can clearly see it's not Van Damme doing most of the fights. Like he'll do up close, but then every wide shot's like, especially when you watch on Blu-ray, it's clearly a double.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's kind of what you're paid for, is to do the fight scenes, and that's kind of a detriment to me, at least. And
I think that movie just kind of fell into the trap of like trying to be like Die Hard. Like that seemed to be what it was going for.
Yeah, definitely.
Die Hard in a hockey rink.
Yeah, rather than like a martial arts style film.
It's a little better than the sequel with Michael Jai White, Welcome to Sudden Death. You want to see a shit show.
I haven't seen that.
That's it.
No, I'm good.
People, Welcome to Sudden Death with Michael Jai White. That's a shit show. Sudden Death is a good movie.
Tons of shitty war films. I don't need to watch tons of shitty action films too. Like,
you be at a world of hurt. I mean, I almost want to force both of you finger gunpoint to watch a Seagal like attack force commentary.
Oh man,
that's some bad shit.
I think all of those were bad for him after like 2001. Everything he did was pretty bad.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Yes, there was a second time crop. It had Jason Scott Lee in it, called the Berlin something direct-to-video. And then they did a TV show no one watched, so it got canceled.
Which is a good idea.
I at least thought in this movie that if you don't have a low budget, at least have some decent locations. So at least there's some in the background where there'd be a bunch of shrubbery, like some forest sections,
or
the field section.
See, the Italian guys had it right. Like they had no budget, but they would go to these amazing places in Italy and film all this background kind of, B stuff. And just people like walking and wandering through like the most amazing sets that you could ever imagine. So that way you really were distracted from the fact that there was nothing going on. Shit all was going on. But like the sets were beautiful. So at least you had, something. You kind of gotta do that.
Do you think people in the U.S., like when they make these direct-to-video, whether it be horror or action, it seems like they don't really do that? Is it because they don't feel the need to? Is it because they don't think about it? Or they think the writing is great, even though it's not? Or
I swear to God, I think it's mostly because of Evil Dead, because like that movie worked and made money. They think that they could just like have one location. If they don't have a big budget, you can just keep everything in like one spot and have stuff happen. And, people will be interested in it. But that only really worked because of how ingenious Sam Raimi was. And these guys are not Sam Raimi. So,
yeah.
Yeah, someone was saying, well, how come everybody in movies like so jacked? What are you gonna do? There's no TV. You can't do anything else. You
Yeah.
either work out or you hunt for food or you're the blacksmith or something. But yeah, everybody's like, they haven't run out of steroids in the future. Maybe that's what it is. Take your steroids with their bread or something. But what else you don't do in the apocalypse?
Yeah, you kind of need to be jacked.
Yeah, you got to.
Going on.
You're gonna end up on like the hood of a car or something like in fucking Road Warrior.
Exactly. That poor son bitch. Yeah, Austin. Spider-Man and Masters Universe 2, both of them were canceled, so they just used the sets they already built, and then they, like I said, had $500,000 and did what they could.
Can we take a moment to appreciate this wig that Van Damme?
That's all awesome. I was just thinking about that.
What?
Yeah.
That was a decision that they should not have made for so many reasons. He looks like fucking Norman Bates at the end, like when he's got the wig on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't condone the wig. I can't fuck it. But I guess I keep thinking about the 1989. I know this is kind of a weird tangent, but in a weird way, it's fitting that the last film of the 89 was Tango and Cash. I say that because it's kind of fitting that movie kind of signifies the end of the 80s with how action and other films were made, how they wanted their action stars to perform. Because it seems like anytime a decade begins, they always have the remnants of the previous decade, like 80, 81, you would still see the disco of the 70s and prom night and other stuff. Same with the 90s, even to the point like Speed or stuff. But then you would see this development of Independence Day, Twister, then X-Men and all these other movies to go far away from the action heroes. And so you saw that decline where these seemed too passe, too inconsequential. People wanted, the public, I should say, the general public wanted more of the show and the spectacle. And they no longer settled for the persons being the spectacle, but they needed much more of the pizzazz and showcase of the spectacle. And that's kind of led to today, with exceptions, of course, but seems the general public definitely want that big spectacle. And there's a catch-22 to it where sometimes that could be fun, but a lot of times can go too overboard with it. But man, I'm just spitballing or something.
No, it makes sense. I mean, every decade has its own like kind of clones and blockbusters and clones of the blockbusters, and like it just goes on and on and on. Like you had, like you said, you had Twister, and then there was like Deep Rising and fucking every movie you could think of that had like earthquakes or tidal waves or like, you know, some natural disaster that was
Deep
going
Impact.
on.
Yeah. You mean Deep Impact?
Oh yeah, Deep Impact. Sorry, I say Deep Rising. Yeah,
that's not the movie I had Deep Impact with the comet. Yeah, Armageddon.
Any kind of like thing like that.
Your favorite?
What was the one? There was Volcano with Pierce Brosnan, I'm pretty sure, and like
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Anne Heche was Volcano and Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah.
Jesus, just think about all that wasted money on those films that just are shit.
You don't like Volcano, Uncle Bill?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Fucking love that movie.
I saw it in the theater.
Gotta love it. Who didn't? Everybody was seeing those movies in the theater at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, those films bombed. Like those were the exceptions. They bombed. Volcano I liked. I think he knew what it was. It ended with I love LA. We love it. Like we know it's a stupid idea. Fuck it. That's kind of what I like. Like Tommy Lee Jones, like he knew what movie it was, and Keith David, and The fucking better
the
than
day after tomorrow, the day after the day after tomorrow.
better than that and shit.
Yeah.
You know, that's when Roland Emmerich was like.
Yeah, he was on the way down. Yeah, definitely.
But I'd take every one of those movies over this fucking Marvel shit they're putting out nowadays. God almighty. All the DC and Marvel shit that's coming out now, I'd rather watch anything. Like
Have
whatever
you
you got.
actually seen any of those?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Avengers, all those. Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen the first Avengers, and I watched some of the one that everybody was like up its ass, the one with Thanos and all that.
Oh, Infinity War.
Yeah, I tried to watch that, but I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I felt like I was dying. And then some like I've tried to watch some of those X-Men movies, but every single time, like I feel like that it's just like I'm gonna have a stroke, so I just stop watching.
Those are so hit and miss. I mean, Bryan Singer's never been somebody I've relied upon for like solid entertainment anyway.
And then the DC
more
stuff.
ways than one.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now we're gonna actually. There's some action going on.
Yeah, the knife and the boot.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw a couple BIs in there.
Get another one of those great helicopter kicks. I do think Van Damme knew that this time that he was not noticeable in terms of verbal, so he knew he had to sell himself with this kind of stuff, and you see this much more prominent, especially in these early movies and these fight scenes, to showcase as many of his moves as possible.
I was amazed when I watched that Arnold documentary that he actually went to like voice, like to lose like his accent, because he didn't really lose his accent, did he? Like he still can't say a damn thing. Like, so I think that he should definitely sue that guy, whoever like did that. I mean, it is a little bit better than it was like back when he was doing Hercules in New York and stuff like that, where you could barely understand him. But that could have been just from that was awful. That could have just been from hanging around, in the U.S. more so than anything else.
True.
Yeah, very true. Oh no, I didn't mention that yet, man. But yeah, that is definitely another part of this film. What had happened was, I think it's near the end of the film. There's one of the actors, like Van Damme, had a knife, and he went too close, and it hit the guy's eyeball. And then the guy didn't say anything for years until I think Van Damme got a little bit more famous, and then sued. And I think the guy won. I mean, it was an accident, but at the same time, you have to know what you're doing when you're employing implements like that. And I think that's what you're talking about, man. And I think the guy won overall. I mean, can't really blame the guy for being pissed. I just don't know why it took so long, why he didn't do it immediately. But maybe he thought, well, this guy doesn't have any money right now. Wait, oh, you got some money now? Okay.
That's because it didn't hurt until like 2 or 3 years later. That's why.
Yep.
He didn't feel the pain until Van Damme had money.
Also, back when a theatrical movie could show a woman's ass. It's not typical nowadays.
No, you don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I know, folks, I'm sexist, but I like women. What can I say? So I like seeing the ass in a movie.
You can't show ice.
Don't do it.
No ice. That's our policy now.
But think about like how you could throw a rock at a action movie that had a strip club in it or some type of thing. Now, when was the last theatrical film that had anything like that? It wasn't any of those Marvel movies. Okay.
Definitely not.
God.
But I can't even think of the last action film that did it. That I'm not saying it needs. I'm just saying something that was such the norm.
Yeah, when's the last time you saw a titty in a Doctor Strange movie? You haven't, have you? And you never will.
No. Although they did, maybe I would go watch one again.
Well, doesn't that have Tilda Swinton? I don't know if you want to see that though.
Ah.
Well,
Albino
no.
boobies.
And yeah, I mean, some of the films that came out before this, to mention briefly, yeah, we have No Retreat, No Surrender was one of them, and Black Widow. I agree, Austin. It's a very boring film with Sho Kosugi. Really not worth watching. I guess unless you're a Van Damme completist.
You know what's not a boring Sho Kosugi film though? Ninja 3, The Domination.
Still my favorite.
Still your favorite of all the ninja films, or that trilogy, or?
Oh, that trilogy.
I gotta go Revenge of the Ninja. I gotta go with that.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if you said that.
That's kind
of those age when every sex scene needs, you need to have blue light when you have sex. That's a rule as well. You need blue light coasting your body.
Burly men standing around watching you, apparently.
Well, I mean, that would be a nightmare if a bunch of
that's why he's waking up. He's like, oh shit.
So for both of you, what was sort of your? For me, I did keep up with Van Damme throughout the years, but for either of you, was there like a cutoff point where you kind of just stopped caring? Like, you know what, I'm not going to look into what he did next or something. If so, if there was a certain movie or just a certain time, certain year that came about for either of you?
After I saw, I think it was the second Universal Soldier, so that was his last theatrical movie, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once his stuff became harder to find, I kind of didn't put the effort into going to find it. There were a few titles here and there that I did grab on DVD, like I think In Hell, which I think is a solid flick. I think that was more so like around 2003 or 2004. But yeah, I just didn't look for him. And the interest kind of waned on me. Like, it just didn't seem like he had it anymore. And maybe I'm wrong because I haven't seen all those movies, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. I don't know. What do you say, Matt? Like, is any of this stuff between like before JCVD and I guess after stuff like Replicant, like that era, is there anything in there worth watching? I'm sure you've seen them all.
I'm trying to think when those years were. Because I'm bad with years.
So that would have been like, I think JCVD was like 2008, and then I guess from 2003 to 2008.
I've seen pretty much all of his direct-to-video stuff. I think that the number one is it's much better than Seagal's. I think it's definitely more consistent. And you know, if I'm looking at a list, I would say just Replicant is a really good one for his direct-to-video market. It was cool to see him play a serial killer as well as a clone. That was an interesting idea. And Hell that you mentioned. The Order was a fun adventure movie. You got Brian Thompson once again, who's the main villain in that. Charlton Heston has a cameo in that. That's Sheldon Lettich, same guy who directed Double Impact, and Lionheart directing The Order.
Okay.
Until Death was an interesting departure because he's playing a coke-addicted cop that gets wounded in the line of duty and then tries to become a better person afterward. After he gets out of his coma. Shepherd Border Patrol was pretty decent. He goes up against at one point Scott Adkins in that. It was a decent action film. I would say like JCVD, like Six Bullets was decent, and Enemies Closer, Peter Hyams. Van Damme's being a villain in that, and he's having fun being a villain. But yeah, if you're talking like the last 10 years, no. pretty awful. Pretty fucking terrible.
I can
A lot
tell.
of that stuff.
I can pinpoint to you the exact moment that I stopped giving a shit about Van Damme, and that's when Double Team came out. When I saw that movie, I was like, nope. I think it's done. I think it's over with.
Yeah.
His ride has come to an end, and he just, from that point.
I think I was still hopeful because I was still so young at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's not what I want. But even as a kid, I'm like, that's not good. But
was that in the theater? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Double Team was in the theater. God almighty.
I will admit I enjoyed Double Team for how batshit insane it is.
Yeah.
I do think it's fun. I didn't think it was boring. But I'm not defending the movie either.
don't die on that fucking hill.
No, I die on that
Double Team hill.
It's one of those things. I get it. I could have fun with it, but it's like it definitely wasn't a boring film. It's compared to, I don't know, folks out. I've seen so many movies. I get a lot of requests and a lot of really shitty movies. Batshit insane I can appreciate a lot more as I get older.
You ever wonder if people just try to torture you with some of the movies they request? Because I feel like that's what they do with us sometimes. They're just like, that they're not even genuine requests.
It's beneficial for both of us, so I can't complain. And at least, spices it up a bit.
Yeah, Uncle Bill, you got to broaden your horizons.
God, I don't want to be that broad. I really don't. What was that one movie they made? Somebody made me watch like 2 weeks ago. Oh, that piece of shit. Oh God, what was it called? I forgot. I tried to block it out of my mind forever. It's just some movie about a guy who's like he's like a door-to-door salesman, and it just goes into his life as like a door-to-door salesman. It's the same people that made that Adam Sandler film, Uncut Gems.
Oh,
it's
is it the Safdie brothers? Or
yeah, it's one of those dudes. Is like, and it was like somebody requested that, and it was literally like watching paint dry. It was like just they just follow this guy around as a door-to-door salesman. Nothing happens. It's just him eating, making breakfast, laying around like, and you're just like, why would anybody? Who would watch this and think it was good?
I got one I'm going to request for you. You and CK will love it. Trust me.
I hope you're not the one that requested that goddamn Safdie's Brother movie, because I would be totally like,
no, it wasn't me for sure.
I'm just going to tell y'all, I'm not digging these guys' outfits at all. Like, I feel like the production value could have been a little bit better. If they just bought some bulletproof vests and like tore off some furs, like fake fur, and put it on it like that's their outfits.
Everybody's got 2 knives.
Maybe not even bulletproof vests, maybe like paintball vests. That might be more.
Oh, man.
See you guys try to do that bit of Tarzan swing. Just definitely an interesting type of gun, the nail gun, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, like, what do you do with the low budget to try spice things up? And like slow-mo seems to be the way to do it. That can be a good asset, but there's certain directors that overuse it. But yeah, sometimes like when you have a low budget, what can you do to spice things up? It's always I don't know, maybe a trial and error quality to not just horror, but action and all sorts of stuff. Motherfucker!
Yeah.
So everyone's named after a guitar. There's Fender.
Yeah, that was Albert Pyun's thing, man.
Strat.
Gibson Rickenbacker is the main character's name.
You've got to be kidding. Are you kidding? Like all these guys are named after guitars?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. Fender, Gibson Rickenbacker, like the one character's Brick Bardo, which you would use for Doll Man, because that was the character's name, Brick Bardo.
Yeah, right.
And Albert Pyun, I don't know how familiar you guys were with his filmography. Yeah. He had done The Sword and the Sorcerer before this.
Alien,
and then later
LA.
Alien. Oh God. Fucking movie's awful.
That's a classic. Vinegar said he'll put that out if you want to get it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
probably in 4K. Oh God. I think we all know the only thing that Kathy Ireland was ever worth the fuck in was Necessary Roughness. I think we can all agree on that.
I agree with that. Sinbad all the way. On a quick side note, just so I had this on the last stream, no, Uncle Bill is not my blood uncle.
He's so killer.
Yeah. You should have said that he is. That'd be awesome.
I don't know if I should take it like as a compliment that I'm so young, or are they insulting him by saying he's old enough to be my uncle?
I also wonder, like, if they notice the fact that I have a deep Southern accent. You don't have an accent at all. So I guess we grew up like completely different regions.
Nah, he's my uncle. That's what's going on.
That's it. Oh shit.
Me and Stuntman are brothers.
Yeah. From different mothers.
Yeah, but as we mentioned, the court case involved with this, you have an Uncle Phil, no joke. Well, hopefully you have no Will Smith around to smack you in the face.
He's never gonna live that down.
No, that's all anybody ever remember about that guy from now on.
Well, I mean, on a side note, I mean, don't be a fucking simp. I mean, I hate just saying.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was this guy in? The guy with the knife. Like, I know I've seen him in something else.
I want to make sure that's the guy I'm thinking of. I want to say his name is Ralph Moeller. And if it's the guy I'm thinking of, let me double check. Because, yeah, I've seen him. If it is, I want to say he's the main bad guy in The Best of the Best 2, who Philip Reed fights.
Fucking right. I think you're right.
Yeah. Rolf Moeller. Yep, Best of the Best 2 is.
Whatever show him again, yeah. Yeah, Brockus. Yeah, Wes and I always talk about that movie because it's like one of the ones that like we grew up watching. It's like it's bad in a way, but it's great. It's like just one of those movies.
And he was also in Universal Soldier. He's the guy when the doctor goes in and the guy has a grenade and he won't let go
Oh yeah,
and then blows up. That's Ralph Moeller as well. And he would play Conan in the TV show Conan the Adventurer that was on for like 20 episodes.
a lot of slow mo running going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of audiences kind of fell by the wayside because the quality was dipping compared to earlier films, as well as again the change of taste in film goers.
Yeah,
where the seemingly typical action films seem quaint compared to. I mean, later, a few years later, you have Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, all these bigger movies, the Star Wars prequels, which are going to make a lot more money, and that's what the studios want, of course.
Matt, did you see the movie that he did that was called UFO? About the invasion, the alien invasion?
One of the worst goddamn movies he was ever a part of. He's barely in it. He did because his daughter stars in it.
Yeah, his daughter's
He's in
in
it for
it.
5 minutes. He's in it for 5 minutes, then he dies, just vaporized by an alien.
Who?
Van Damme.
Van Damme?
Van Damme.
Yes.
And a movie called UFO, it was another title. He only did because his daughter started it. He's there for 5 minutes, and then the alien vaporizes him and kills him. So,
yeah, the other title was Alien. Alien Uprising, or was that it? I think that was it.
That sounds about right. It's dog shit.
Uncle Bill, you got to see it.
I mean, it sounds amazing.
The CGI like invasion is awesome. Like,
but that's what I've said. I mean, a lot of these guys, I've said many times before, and people think I'm being mean about it, but I'm being genuine about it. Just retire. Just to a point. You don't idea that you want to keep working. Maybe they have to financially, okay, but sometimes you save your money, get enough, and retire. Just a lot of these guys, or if do some like at least go the Nick Cage route, because at least his choices are interesting. It may not be always successful, but they're pretty interesting. At least do that. Have the Nick Cage career.
He has the craziest filmography ever.
Yeah.
There's the scene I'm talking about, the splits. I do like the way it's edited back and forth. Again, for what you can do with a low budget, at least give it a little bit its own pizzazz. But yeah, Albert Pyun, the guy who directed this, I remember liking The Sword and the Sorcerer. That was sort of the 80s heyday of sword and sorcery movies after Conan. After this, he did that awful Captain America movie that cost like $10.
Yeah.
I've got that movie on Blu-ray. I think Shout Factory put it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
The guy couldn't have the ears because there's chafes to its rubber ears on the side of his face.
Classic.
Because I guess the mask would chafe his ears. He complained too much.
And he did Kickboxer too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Albert Pyun, yeah.
The Road Home or something like that. The Road Back. Yeah.
Yeah, The Road Back.
It's not a bad movie. It's got Sasha
Brain Smasher as well with Andrew Dice Clay. Awesome.
Terry
Awesome movie. Yes.
Hey, you fucking mook.
I couldn't get into that because it was PG-13 Dice Clay. Like it needed to be rated R.
I'll give
It
you
was
that.
like
Sure.
Yeah.
it was like neuter Dice Clay. You can't have Icer Dice Clay be PG-13. It just doesn't work.
Let's say
For
you
me.
fucking.
You know, Clay. He just needs to smoke a cigarette in every scene. He's cool with whatever. So
He used to be one of my favorite comedians. He started off an album with that. Like he just started off now. He came out, he walked out and goes, "Let's say you fucking." Let's say you fucking dog style, right? Does the kid pop out backwards?
What?
He starts an album with that joke. Like I forget which one it is, but yeah, the guy was just amazing back in the day.
Yeah, I was always a big fan of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Always love that film. And like you were talking about before with how certain people use or choose certain locations. Like this was, I thought, a worthwhile location.
Yeah.
To at least give a little bit of character instead of again just being a barren open field.
yeah.
I mean it is, but just there's a little bit of that marsh quality to it. And what limited resources, like okay, you get a guy that knows martial arts, just let him do what he's capable of doing. Because that's what people are paying to see.
They're falling into the low budget trap here, though, that I've seen in a lot of these other movies, which is like there's too many like just wandering around chase sequences to fill time, and not enough like action and shit. You see that in a lot of these movies where they're just trying to like stretch the time limit out.
Yeah.
Oh lordy. Ain't no count when you get your arm cut off. Like, oh Lord.
No, was this one was also re-edited like by Van Damme, right?
Yeah. And because it was a much more operatic movie. There was the action scenes were not. I don't remember if the slow motion was in the. I can't remember. It's been so long since it's been like 12 years since I saw the other cut. But it seemed like the action scenes here worked a bit better, were a bit tighter. And I think like Van Damme couldn't save the plot, but he could save the action, which is the stuff as a kid I was drawn towards, and simplicity of it all. And yeah, folks have to realize I've seen a lot of shit action movies, so I guess if you say for me to say this, well, it's hard to see high grade, but it's more memorable moments for me in this compared to Kickboxer 4 or some shit. Fucking. Or Pound of Flesh with Van Damme where someone stole his kidney, and then there's a whole scene car chase where this is bad fucking green screen, so you can tell they're not even in a car.
Somebody stole his kidney. It's like urban legend or something.
Yeah, he wakes up in the ice, his kidney's missing, and then I go my kidney back, but it just fuck it. As dumb as it sounds, I appreciate it. Unlike Seagal, he was willing to get himself beaten up in movies because the combat would be much sweeter. You watch Steven Seagal, he never gets beaten up. He's like, you can't touch me, you can't beat me up, you can't slap me.
But he beats the shit out of everybody else.
Yeah. With his like 5 moves. The short clothesline thing. The slap boxing or whatever. Let me bend your hands like this.
Shit. Shit. Yeah, he did that all the time. My favorite, though, my all-time favorite, he did this in like 12 movies, was where he'd put your arm like over his shoulder and then like bring it down and snap it in half. You know, that was his move. That was his signature, like just dangling arm. Did you ever hear the story though about him and Saturday Night Live, Seagal and Saturday Night Live? There's a story about where they wanted to do a sketch, the Hans and Franz sketch, and like Dana Carvey was supposed to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? So the joke was going to be that he gets on there and he's like, you know, making fun of Seagal, like, oh, look how flabby you are, you know, with your no muscles and all that, and look at us. And so they run through the thing, and Seagal's like getting madder and madder as they're going through the run through. And finally he like won't do it, and he's like sitting in a corner, basically just like sulking, and somebody walks over to him and goes like, what's wrong? And he's like, I just wish Schwarzenegger was here right now so I could show everybody what I would do to him. It was like, that's the kind of guy that Seagal was. He legitimately thought they could just like whip anybody's ass, and like had to do that, and had no sense of humor about any of it.
But yeah, there was the other story where someone like was wondering where Seagal was, and he came out of his trailer and he's like, I just read the best script ever read. And they asked, who wrote it? I did.
Exactly. Yeah. There's another great one too that I think Tom Arnold told, where he was doing a movie, he was on a boat. It's so killer. And he doesn't want to wait for them to block off the shot. I don't know why, but like so everything's set up almost like it is, like just like nothing is prepared, in other words, but he wants to do the scene and he won't wait for them to like block off the rest of the shot and get everything ready for whatever reason. And they said that he was just like, he says his dialogue or whatever, and then he opens the door to like leave, and he just like falls right into the water. He just like walks right out into the fucking like water. Oh my God. You gotta love him.
Yeah. So many stories.
I guess.
What a career.
Yeah.
I love who he used to be. Goddamn, though. A fucking guy. But people who know my channel know that it feels like Seagal is like one of the main villains of my channel. The fucking guy.
Ever since I've never liked him, I really can't even like his movies that much anymore. Ever since I heard the stories about him, like just deliberately hurting stuntmen and stuff, and just being a dickhead about it. And the story about Jean LaBelle fucking him up, which was great.
Which Seagal denies ever happened.
There's like so many witnesses that you know it happened. Yeah. Apparently, Jean LaBelle was like the real, true badass.
That's true, Elf Runner. That is true. And based on Don's interview, he said that Joel Silver actually wanted him to have a scene in Assassins, where he had a fight with Antonio Banderas. But he was starring in movies and said no, and he thinks maybe that had him a little bit blackballed in his career because he said no to such a. But Joel Silver's a fat fuck asshole, so fuck Joel Silver. That's another guy. You hear stories, he's just such an asshole. So that's from Joel fat fuck Silver. Fuck Joel Silver. But hey, Don, you did your own thing, so here you go.
Any story in particular? There hasn't been too many that I've heard.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I know like everybody hated each other on The Last Boy Scout. Like everybody, Bruce Willis and David Wayans hated each other. Tony Scott hated everybody. Joel Silver and Bruce Willis hated each other. They never worked together, which is weird. It's such a great movie, but
yeah,
it is a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the action is great. The dialogue is even better. There's a lot of great like comedic bits throughout that really work. That's a fun movie.
Oh, so what happened here? You checked over and you did film my wife? Oops, it wasn't my lucky day.
Yeah.
So how many figures will you cut off to sleep with my wife? Fucking.
He spills
That's
his
a movie that
drink.
would never be.
That's the best. He spilled my warm cup of piss.
Sorry. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that story because he was training, and I'm sure Seagal was really sorry about it. Sorry about it. I'm sure he was. It's the type of guy he fucking is. What was the one? There was the story the director said that was talking with Seagal on the phone, and he thinks Seagal must have been getting a blowjob when he was talking to him on the phone.
He's probably just trying to breathe. If that's any time
Well, I know the
recently.
director said one of the conditions for him being in the film is that he had to have a young Asian lady to sleep with during a scene.
Oh yeah, why not? I mean, Marq.
Forget how much you get paid. I mean, that's what it's all about.
That and eating
Hey,
raw
Jay,
carrots.
hope you do well. Hope you doing well, Jay. It's been a while. We're just watching Fender being a peeping Tom because he's a fucking pervert too. On top of being a killer.
Yeah.
The killer is also a pervert.
I got to get that earring. That's awesome.
I hope you do. I hope you wear that every time we do a stream.
And this role was for Norris, from what I read a while ago. Not
I think
Fender,
Albert Pyun
Van
wanted
Damme.
him. Yeah, I think Albert Pyun wanted him because Chuck Norris successful with Cannon, missing action films, Invasion USA, etc. But Van Damme had just had Bloodsport, so I much as like Chuck Norris, I just don't know if he would do a scene like this. But Van Damme, since he was so hungry, I just don't know if Chuck Norris would allow himself to be crucified. Especially later on when he became so religious.
Right.
But
there is a video of them training together. Any of you guys haven't seen it? I think it's still on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Van Damme was
early
an extra.
90s.
Became an extra in one of his movies, one of the missing action films. He was an extra. And I always enjoyed this scene here because number one, I thought it was neat that they got like a whole pirate ship in the middle of nowhere.
I love that. Yeah, the backdrop.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, as strange as it sounds, it's just a scene that stuck with me because number one, you just didn't see this type of scene a lot, and I think if they're more established, they'd have maybe a bit of an ego to show themselves as vulnerable in that type of situation. But because you're hungry to be more successful, hopefully get more roles.
Yeah, I 100% cannot see Chuck Norris doing this scene. I just can't envision it.
And while yes, the movie is very flawed, like scenes like this pop up so much for me that it makes me overlook the flaws, as dumb as that sounds. So, because there's a lot of films that made me feel nothing, or I don't remember a damn thing 5 minutes after I watch it. But
yeah,
this scene like this, I still remember since I was a kid, and
yeah, I do too. It traumatized me for 30-some years now.
I'm trying to remember the old phrase, like a film should have at least like 3 good scenes or something like that. I forget the old phrase. Wish I could remember the exact phrasing of it, but I do like the musical score as well. I think it does fit the film itself. That's sort of like, I don't know if I want to say not Western, but this, I'm not quite sure how to explain the instruments being used.
He's hulking up. He's going to no-sell the crucifixion.
He did something that the other JC couldn't do. Only this JC could do. The other JC couldn't do this. If the other GC, if the other GC did this, the history would be different. See, that's a canon film. Chuck Norris is Jesus. He's got the beard, and but then he does is like breaks down the cross, and then he kicks through the ass, and it's time. You tell Moses that guy's time to die. Jesus is back, and he is pissed.
Maybe go back and watch Delta Force again. That's one that I haven't seen in a long time. I just watched Invasion USA not too long ago, and that's still like one of my favorite movies.
So the train, yeah, the Chuck Norris, Van Damme, yeah. Van Damme did cameo last After Hero, which is 30 years old now. Crazy enough to think. Yeah, that's similar to what I was thinking of. Like 3 scenes at least that you could think of. Michael Dudikoff did a good job as an American Ninja. I think it worked well enough. I think a younger guy helped in that role because he's supposed to be a guy that people don't really take seriously at first, like Steve James's character. Like Chuck Norris at that point already looked old enough to be, the leader, let alone a seemingly new recruit for the military. So I think Michael Dudikoff worked better. Whereas that's a guy that kind of disappeared as well, Michael Dudikoff. I haven't really seen him in a long time.
Who do you like better, Michael Dudikoff or Sasha Mitchell?
Dudikoff.
Take the Dudikoff.
I think he had a little bit of that Clint Eastwood look, the squinty-eyed look that I think made him work well and seem more believable. What they decide, I always think of Cody from Step by Step. I can't help it.
He was in Step by Step.
He can't shake that. Like for me, that's what I always saw because I watched that as a kid. So yeah, it's hard to get rid of that.
I do not have the Scorpion release at Delta Force. Did Scorpion do that? I
didn't even know they did it.
Maybe they did.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
I know there's one that came out with features. Maybe it was Scorpion. I don't have it though.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, I like that matte paint. I do like this whole set as well. It gives a little bit of. I mean, you could tell it's a set, yes, but I always like the look of it. It seems like a fun playground. They just have fun and kick ass, take names. Okay, so it was Scorpion. Okay. Yeah, I knew it had features on it. Chuck Norris never wants to do an interview. I don't know why.
That's true. Has he ever done a fucking interview on any of those movies?
I don't know why. I'm sure they've asked. He just
Top Dog. I would have wanted to do an interview on that one.
That's such a weird ass movie too. It's like a kids film, but it's about white supremacists, I think.
Dude,
weird.
Like, I love the idea of like really specific subgenres that happen throughout time, and that was one of them where you had like the dog cop movies. It's just such an odd specific subgenre that happened in I guess it was the early 90s. Turner and Hooch, and then K9, and then that one, and there was a couple more too.
I would never want to put a knife in my mouth. I'd think I'd cut my mouth accidentally. Like,
No.
oh, shit. Give myself a bigger smile.
What if somebody just kicked you in the mouth while you were doing that? It's like,
Yeah.
I think this first guy he attacks is the guy that was in the court case, I believe. This first that he like tries to slice with a knife.
that guy.
Yeah, I think this first guy.
Yeah.
He does like the swipe. I think that was the guy. So I'm guessing maybe when he did the swipe, the mark was off or something.
How about
I
not
would
having a
assume.
real fucking knife? That probably would have helped.
No, it's
that's
canon. They had to cut those corners.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Chuck Norris. He did a couple horror films: Betamax, Silent Rage, Hero in the Terror, although that's technically more thriller. Yeah, Hellbound was one, although there's not a lot of action in that, but I think that's actually one of the last canon films technically is Hellbound. At least one of the last released. That's when canon was pretty much dead in the water.
Silent Rage.
94.
He no sold throughout that entire movie. He's the most no selling like action star ever. Like after he got his ass whipped by Bruce Lee, he must have just been like, I'm not selling any of your shit ever again in any of these movies. It's like he gets shot and everything, he no sells it. Kicked, punched, it doesn't matter.
That was the scene I always remembered right there. He's still kicking the guy while he's on fire.
I mean, that's commendable. I mean, you don't even, I mean, I understand why, but at the flip side, stuntmen would do whatever it took. And now I think there's stuntmen that would do is just, it's got to be CGI, everything. And
Yeah.
I did it for safety reasons, but at the same time, it's like, it's just not as effective.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there were quite a few films that Van Damme was going to be a part of and never came about. Like, I think Sheldon Lettich and him were going to do like it was a movie like in the vein of X-Files, and it never happened. And then there's going to be a monster movie called Abominable, where he was going to play a park ranger and be like a Bigfoot movie, and that never happened.
I can't imagine why.
And what year would
I
that
would
have been?
pay $1,000 to see Van Damme do a helicopter kick on a Sasquatch.
That wasn't like the 2000s, was it?
I think late 90s.
Okay.
Early 2000s. Now, you notice during this fight, you'll notice the additional photography because when Fender's fighting, like when Van Damme does these punches in the back, it's a lot more blue, and you tell that they're in different locations. So there'll be times where Van Damme's like doing these punches back to Fender. Those are added in because those are not in the original cut. That's the Slinger cut. Pretty much just Fender kicking his ass the whole time without fighting back at all. And Van Damme's like, well, I want to fight back a little bit. So yeah, and you can tell like coming up, this is how close he does this. You tell like the background's a lot more like light blue or something to that effect. Yeah, I did see Bigfoot versus DB Cooper. No, the only fight in there is boredom. Fight to stay awake. That was like a wannabe Cinemax, like cheap porn movie. Awful fucking film.
Yeah. I'm just noticing that this guy reminds me like a really jacked up Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah.
I can't not notice it now.
Yeah, he's surprising. I never noticed that. Oh man, he's such a like villain, like born out of the 80s.
Yeah.
This is like my friends that I always do this now, like Fender fucker. Just the fucking Yeah, this coming up, whenever you see Van Damme punch, you'll notice that the background is different because again, it was additional photography.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
Much more blue. So yeah, none of those scenes are in the original cut you were talking about, Slinger, Marq. None of these fighting back. It's just him getting wailed. And then he just stabs him once and then the fight's over. Like that's all the fight is.
That's horrible.
In the original cut. That's why Van Damme wanted to re-edit and shoot additional. Now, see, if they were able to know this ahead of time, they could have fixed the continuity of it. But we're working with $500,000. I was like, well, here's $20. You can have your couple scenes.
Turn on some blue light. Add some water.
Exactly.
Just swing at the camera.
I feel like there's probably a lot more to that scene that got edited out too.
Yeah, it seems like it would be.
Stabbed him in the stomach, and then like you could tell he was like pulling up. So I feel like there's something else to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing in the original cut, since you were asking, Mark, is at the very end of this film, it seems like a happy ending. Like they get the girl when they leave, like the girl and the guy are talking, and it's like they're actually planning something sinister, like to fuck over more people. So I guess they're actually villains as well, or type of villains.
Was that to like set up the sequel?
I think Albert Pyun just wanted, again, his opera, like, just. I hate to say it. He's a guy who was not as talented as he thought he was. And I know that's mean, but I'm just. And I liked some of his films. I look at his filmography. I like Dollman. I like Nemesis. But I mean, Adrenaline, Fear the Rush. For Christopher Lambert, Natasha Henstridge. Yeah. The Nemesis sequels, which are some of the worst I've ever seen.
I was about to ask, like, didn't he do the sequels too?
2, 3, and 4 with the lady Sue Price, like this female bodybuilder that makes China look like Bridget Fonda or something. So yeah, none of this is in the original cut, which is my favorite part of the fight.
Yeah.
Because you tell like this is more Van Damme style.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more kicks, a lot more him getting the upper hand. Which in retrospect, I think you should just let Van Damme handle the fights, like choreography wise, since I don't think that was really Albert Pyun's forte.
You would think that's what it would be. I mean, it's canon, lower budget type thing. Put the camera on Van Damme, let him do his thing. That's what I would have been thinking if I was the director. Like, why do you need to step in? We don't need your input right now.
Well, again, he thought he was making an opera movie, like artistic art house. I think like they take these projects because they're offered to him, and it's like I want to showcase all that I can do to make people notice me more, and not the story, whatever. It's like I don't know if it's be calling him try hard or what.
Shouldn't do that. Not in these type of movies.
No, not at all.
Don't complicate things. Just try to keep it simple.
And that's why I prefer this cut over the Slinger cut, because I think like Van Damme do keep it simple. Just like I think he knew he wasn't the best at the English language, so keep my dialogue simple until he understood the English language better. And Mark, at least you're not seeing his booty in focus.
Right. That hadn't become his signature shot yet.
No, not yet.
He's really doing some hardcore acting right here.
And were they trying to say that he was the last remaining Slinger? Was that supposed to be what it was?
What, the dialogue?
No, I mean, just like in the film itself, like was Van Damme supposed to be like the last remaining one in this post-apocalyptic world? Okay.
I guess just...
It kind of seemed that way, but they never really implied it, at least in this cut. I don't know about the director's cut.
Well, I know in the director's cut at the end, there's just, we're going to do some shady things now that those assholes are gone. Dun, dun, dun. Stay tuned for the sequel. I guess not the Angelina Jolie sequel. Which, by the way, you said you saw it. What were your thoughts on the sequel, Cyborg 2?
Me, Rambo?
Yeah.
I loved it. I give it 10 out of 10. Woodbine. It's great. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good movie. It's got some horrible, like some of the most horrible editing I've ever seen in a movie, like before was in that movie. And
it's got Casey Jones.
Yeah, that's true. But no.
Even I know it's got even I'm like, that movie sucks.
What was that guy's name? Like his real name? Do you know?
Elias Koteas.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't help the movie at all.
It did help. But anyway, that's the finale of it. And I didn't, for the critical and all stuff, little hiccup along the way. And yes, I do admit there are flaws in the film. I'm not going to lie and bullshit. But at least it's a short pace. You have rough around the edges Van Damme, but for the most part doing what he's told. Action scenes are fun. Good villain. Some decent scenes.
The villain's probably the best part of this movie, honestly.
Yeah, Fender is great.
Yeah.
And would lead into Kickboxer, which that would be more of a discussion. I would say next week at 9 p.m. it'd be discussion on Kickboxer, because I mean Kickboxer is a classic.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I don't have much of a fucking for now. It's Cyborg. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't, like I said, it's been a long time since I watched this. I don't know if I like it more or less than I did like 15 years ago or whatever. Like it's pretty much the same. Like it didn't didn't really change that much, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's not awful. It's not in the top echelon of his films, in my opinion, though.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I saw this one a little bit later after like the Bloodsport and Kickboxer and Death Warrant, even, which I like. But I always appreciated what it was. I mean, at the time, Van Damme could do no wrong. I still think he's fun to watch in this. Like you guys already said, Fender is fun. But overall, I don't know if I'd recommend this as like someone's introduction into Van Damme movies.
No, probably not.
But if it's like a hardcore fan, like us, like we're hardcore Van Damme fans, it's definitely fun to watch and critique and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I mean, it's always been a childhood favorite. I can admit that's a big part of it. But yeah, I've talked about this movie incessantly throughout the years, so I don't have much to say other than that. Other than I know you got a lot of shows coming up, Uncle Bill. A lot of shows coming up. I know you got the
Oh fuck!
7 films
Let me try to
and
figure out.
more of the tour of Italy.
Yeah, okay, so that's easy because that's so every Monday at 10 is where I do a different Italian horror film director, like kind of a overview of his movies. So this Monday at 10 is going to be Ruggero Deodato, who most people probably would know from Cannibal Holocaust, but he did a lot of other kind of great slasher and Italian kind of genre films at that time too. And then so CK's got like he put up a show that I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in because Severin is having a big sale. And anytime anybody has a big sale, whether it be Severin, we like to make fun of most of the Severin's titles. And let's see. So like Vinegar Syndrome we do from time to time, and then Severin we do from time to time. So the Severin show is on the 29th at 11:30. So I'm assuming the sale is at midnight. Yeah.
And you're going to spend at least $100 on that.
Probably, unfortunately, like
Yeah.
because they did.
Know, like,
oh, go ahead, Mark.
What films are you intrigued by Severin?
None, really. Majority of the time, but like the one that just came out that probably won't at all be a part of this sale, I'm kind of intrigued by, which is the Joe Spinell one. What is it called? Last Picture Show, which I don't think I've seen.
Horror Show.
Last Horror Show, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just put out a 5K of it or something. They'll charge everybody $60. I guarantee it.
I'm wondering like what the hell's like 5+ hours of new bonus features? Like what did they find like that they could put on there?
It's hard to tell, Severin, really. But I'm looking forward to just seeing what they do. They're kind of the joke of
the boutique labels.
Labels.
They have some, but I mean, there's some stuff in there. It's never anything that they put over heavily.
Yeah.
Occasionally they'll have some stuff that I do pick up. I mean, I got Severin titles. I mean,
if you're a fan of Italian, like really crappy Italian horror films, they've got like a lot of back catalog of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And even other stuff like didn't they do The Changeling?
They did, but there have been so many. Like Second Sight just released that too. There's been so many editions of that.
That's true. Yeah, they did.
And as for the tour of Italy, like which ones are coming up next for you, director wise? You have a list.
Well, yeah, I've got like a basic idea. I don't really have a list. Like, so Ruggero Deodato will be this Monday at 10. Hopefully, Mark will be on that show if we can get him to do it. You know how Mark is. And then
I thought you wanted me on the Soave one.
I want you on whichever one you're comfortable with, Mark.
I'll do Deodato. I didn't know you wanted me on
as many different ones as you can be on. and then after that, I think so. Steve has off the week of 4th of July, and you can't get Steve to do nothing, but he finally agreed to do Sergio Martino. So that's the one that we're going to do that week. So I do know those two are for sure. Yep.
And I see here you also have a Horror Media Hall of Fame.
Oh fuck!
On
I
the
don't.
25th?
What's the date on that one? Because I have no
That's
idea.
this Sunday.
This Sunday. That's great.
25th,
I got to still come up with
9
something for that.
p.m.
I don't.
So what is that about?
I'm not good at planning or really executing. So last year what we did was we just pick a couple of titles, like a couple of releases from the past that we would enter into like the Horror Media Hall of Fame. So like a specific edition of a movie released by a company that's like considered to be a classic. In other words, it's like the Phantasm Sphere set was one of them, and the Hellraiser box like set that Anchor Bay put out. There's just different things like that.
Okay. So Horror Media Hall of Fame with Garrett and CK on the 25th at 9 p.m. Central. And
Sunday,
then each Monday, Tour of Italy.
Yep.
And then
Each
on
Monday.
the 29th, the 7 Films Summer Sale.
Yep.
And I'm assuming sometime down the road will be another one of those spin the wheel, make a deal.
Yeah. Well, the funny
type of
thing about that is that I think it was Carta that requested that we bring that back. Like, because we did it the one time and it went over pretty well, but I don't know. It's just like then there's like 15 other shows that he's put in, and that one never came back around. So
Okay.
that will be coming back soon. I really enjoy that idea though. I enjoy doing that show.
And no news is good news.
Fuck, we need to do one of those. Like that's been a while since we did that.
Mhm.
That submarine story would have been amazing to do.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, there's no one watching, so you just still do it. Now that'd be like 100 people, so you just still do the same. But
Yeah, we got to do that show. That's a good idea. Okay.
yeah, and whenever you want to, I'm down for it.
Mhm.
So,
I was just gonna say there's been a whole lot of stupid shit come out here recently, news wise.
I'm trying, Jack Frost. I'm trying to get them to do it.
It's gonna be the recurring thing. Like Mark just trying to get us to do that movie.
Yeah. I mean, so let's set a date.
Okay.
okay, go ahead.
Let
I'm
me
down
know.
for it.
Let me know when I'm gonna be sick, real quick.
Well, I mean, like between you two, I'm free whenever, but you guys got the more active channels, so
I'm
whenever
free
you guys are
whenever.
free. Okay, so
I'm free
Okay.
whenever the fuck CK wants to stop putting me in shit. So I don't know when that'll be, but yeah, just none of those dates that he has me in that stuff. Other than that, fine.
Oh, actually, you know what? Next week we'll take off on the Van Damme stuff because you guys are going to be busy with the 7 films because the 29th is a Thursday. So next week we'll take a break off from that and we'll pick that up whenever the time comes. It's no rush or anything. Yeah, because I just know the 29th, that is a Thursday. So yeah, I'll think of another day. That's fine.
You free on Wednesday? Either of you?
I'll look into it, and if it doesn't happen, I could always message both of you whenever figure out a better time.
Yeah.
But
okay.
How about this? I'll say it then. It's the 22nd, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I keep looking at my calendar because 25th, you got that Sunday, 29th, Thursday. Okay. Mark, how are you on Wednesday the 28th?
I'm good.
You said it again? God damn it.
I'm good. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
What is that with you?
As it turns out, I just got cholera, so I'm not going to be able to make it. No, I really don't think I have anything on the 28th, so that's fine.
Cool.
Fine. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. Life's short. 28th, we'll do X-Files. I want to believe this movie sucks, and it does. And we'll do a fucking commentary. Because it'd be easier to do, because we're just sitting back bullshitting like we did tonight. It's always easier to do, even if you don't pay attention to the movie. So, 28th, 3 of us, shit X-Files out of the bed, finally. And, you know what? I could put it on this channel. Fuck it. I don't give a do a live. Fuck it.
We'll close the book on the X-Files.
Marq is
I want to believe.
We all know this. We got to.
Yeah. So we'll be done with X-Files. Well, at least until Ryan Coogler's reboot comes out.
Shit, I hope not.
Then we'll have to review the first episode.
So real quick though, while I've got you both on here, what are y'all doing tomorrow? Technically today now.
Nothing. I'm free.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's do the no news is good news shit tomorrow. Then we've got like a ton of material.
9 p.m. Central.
Technically today, yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
10 my time, 9 your time. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, for those who are in here, tomorrow on his channel, Dip Hit, we'll do news. No news is good news, and we will hopefully see any of you there tomorrow, and that'll be the Fat Jack. With all the bullshit dudes jacking off on all our faces, you know. Fucking
wait.
I mean, that would be bad too. So it's all bad.
I can't wait.
And yeah, if you want to see Elf Runner, go check on his channel. We did talk about season 10, and we went into how much of a fucking waste it was. It's still up on the live portions of Dead Pit, where we went through all the seasons. So, thank you all out there for stopping by. Thank you, these two, for taking their time. Time is very short and fleeting nowadays. So, the fact they take the time to do this is pretty humbling. So, I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys out there. Be careful out there. And one last thing, Marq, do you have anything coming up in terms of videos?
A couple reviews, and we'll see if I can get them posted this year. So,
God damn. You got like 6 months, Marq. Come on.
I know.
At the end of the year, you can do this.
I'm working hard. Trust me.
So we will see you hopefully tomorrow. Some of you guys in the chat. Stop by. Feel free.
See you, bulls.
Later.